welcome back to this week's episode of the Millennial Mum podcast. Now, this week I want to talk about finding your passion, or passions as I should say. If you're anything like me, I like to have my fingers in lots of different pies because I can get bored so easily. But I feel like as a society and even like the communities, friends and family, it's often very easy to feel like you're being pigeonholed into trying to find this one passion. You hear it a lot. What's your passion? It's so singular that it makes you feel like that you should only have one passion in life. And for someone like me who loves doing lots of different things and has tried quite a few different things in such a short time of me being in like the working world, you could say, like that's quite scary, yeah? And you can easily feel like if you've got like say 2 or 3 passions or 2 or 3 things that you really enjoy doing that you would potentially want to pursue professionally, when someone says find your passion, it can make you panic and make you think, oh my God, okay, so out of the 3 things I like, which one do I have to go for? Which one should I pick? And I believe that you shouldn't have to pick just one, okay? And the reason for this is, and the reason this, I had like an almost massive light bulb moment, it was probably like 4 months ago. I was listening to a podcast by Stephen Bartlett. He's literally like one of my favourite people to listen to. The people who he interviews are just incredible. So if you haven't listened to any of his before, then make sure you do. And he was interviewing a lady called Maria Forleo, who is like one of the world's best life coaches. And she basically said, and almost like said it out loud, which made it seem okay, that you don't need to have one passion and that you can pursue several different types. And she was saying that how she became like a Nike dance athlete. She went into coaching. She was also working in a waitressing job. And she ended up doing lots of different things. And listening to her story, like she's very successful. I've got her book, which is called Everything is Figureoutable. It's actually right here. I got Sam to get it to me for Christmas after listening to her being interviewed by Stephen Bartlett. She's wicked. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see me holding it up right now. Yeah, so I heard her interview and it just made me feel like someone was listening to me and someone could hear me even though I wasn't saying that. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't crying out for someone to tell me that, but like when she said it, I was like, oh my God, like I can relate to this so much. After I had my first son back in March of 2021, I got back to work doing like my network marketing business. I think it was in like the June or July. It was like 3 or 4 months after I'd given birth, which obviously is quite soon, but I mean, I could work from home, I could work on the sofa, I could work around my son, so it wasn't like a massive deal at the time. And my partner's really supportive, so he was like helping out when he was at home and allowing me that time in the evenings and whatever to actually get stuff done. But I don't know what happened to me. I had like a massive spark, like a creative spark, and all of a sudden I wanted to pursue and do so many different things in work. So I started making resin because apparently I wanted to start a resin business. Once I got back into the gym when he was nearly a year old, I was doing like Zumba because dancing is my thing. Like I love dancing. I've done like GCSE, A-level, I've been in theatre school, I've been in a dance school. And when I was doing Zumba, I was like, oh my God, like I know I'm never going to be a professional dancer, but I would love to be a Zumba instructor. So that was another thing that I was looking into. I do content creation for different companies. I've got different deals and I do it like freelance. Me and my partner obviously into property. So there was, and obviously Millennial Mum started in March of 22. And was originally a drop shipping business. And obviously I was still doing my network marketing stuff. And this whole coaching thing has been in the pipeline probably even before my son was born. Like before I was even pregnant, I wanted to do coaching. So you think all of those things are in completely different categories, completely different industries. And I remember when I was like talking to different family members and different friends, they were like, you need to just do one. Like if you're not going to do one, you're never going to be good at any of them and you're not going to be successful in any. But like that, what Maria said, and she almost like articulated what I couldn't put into words. It's like so what if you're not going to be the best at anything? Like, I don't necessarily want to be the best coach in the world. I don't want to be like the #1 female coach for mums. I don't necessarily want to have or be like the top spot in my network marketing business. Wouldn't necessarily want to be like the best and well-known Zumba coach when I eventually get round to doing that. But I want the variety. They say, what do they say? Variety of the spice of life or something like that. Like, I would rather do lots of smaller things that are completely different to give me that variety, to make sure that every day of my life is different, so that I am tapping into all of the like things that I love, like my creativeness and my ability to lead, and like physically, like your physical health. Like, I'd love to be able to tap into all of those things and not be the best at any of them, than do one thing and box myself into one thing for the rest of my life, or like for a period of time, let's say like 10 years, for example, and get bored. Because I get bored so easily. So as much as I love dancing, yeah, if I was a full-time Zumba instructor, I'm sure over time I would grow to get complacent and get a bit bored, and maybe not then show up as best as I could for the people who I am teaching. Do you know what I mean? But then further to that, if you are going to be someone who stretches yourself and does lots of different things, I think you have to have a conversation with yourself and be really okay with not being the best at everything. Yeah, it would be physically impossible to stretch yourself that thin. Say you're doing like 4 different things. Like, you're never going to be making the most money from any of them. Collectively, obviously, yes, you would be making, or you could be making like really good money, but you're never going to make the top money in any of the things that you do if you stretch yourself across lots of different things. So I really probably guess like it depends what you want. But for me, where I am interested in lots of different things and my brain works at 1,000,000 miles an hour and I get bored so easily, when Maria was saying that it's okay and that actually she thinks that passion should be a plural and it should be find your passions and it should have an S on the end, it literally spoke to my soul. And I'm sure that someone listening to this episode of me saying it, I reckon there's someone who's like, oh my God, I'm so glad Yaz has said this. I'm so glad that someone has actually articulated this out loud. Because like I said, I didn't even know how to put that feeling into words until I watched that episode of Stephen Bartlett with Maria Forleo. You've definitely got to watch that interview. And it's a lot better watched than it is listened to as well. So I prefer like watching like the YouTube videos. Also, another thing that she taught me, which is completely off topic for what this episode is, but something that I'm literally going to take with me through my life forever. She said about listening to your intuition. And I'm not going to go like too spiritual on everyone here, because it wasn't that long ago when I was not spiritual at all. And if people were saying anything about like manifesting or anything like that, I would have literally zoned out and been like, this is a load of crap. But anyway, she said that she wanted people to listen to their intuition more. And Stephen was like, okay, so how do people do that? Like, how do they trust their gut, trust the voice that's in their head? Like, how can you get people to like listen to that more? And she said about listening to that voice when it crops up in small daily situations, because the more you can listen to it in those kind of situations, the more you'll be able to be like tuned into it in bigger situations. And I suppose this does actually kind of like feed into the whole like find your passion thing, because there'll be things that you do in life, activities that you do, people you meet, conversations that you have that make you think, oh, I'd love to do that, or oh, I should try that. And you notice that they're there, but you don't necessarily act on them. And this is what Maria's saying, like you should be listening to that voice more. So she said about listening to that little voice, even when you're sat in a restaurant and you're choosing what food to order. So I don't know if anyone else has this problem, right? But when I go to a restaurant and I see all of the food that's in front of me, sometimes having too much choice is worse than when you have like nothing at all. Like when there's too much to choose from, it can be so hard for me to actually choose what I want to eat. And I end up just falling into the trap of ordering the same thing in the same restaurant. So like when I go to Pizza Express, I usually order is it the pollo pesto? Like the chicken pesto pasta. And if I go to, I'm trying to think of any other restaurants that we actually go to, but I'm also a sucker for pizza. Like no matter where we are, I will order a pizza. I'm obsessed. We have a Domino's like at least once a week, or a pizza at least once a week, right? So she's saying that when you're sat in a restaurant, like sometimes I'll look at a menu and the little voice in my head will go, oh, order this or order this. And I usually just override it and would choose something else. So she's basically saying to listen to that voice in all areas of your life, in smaller situations as well, so that you can train yourself to listen to it in the bigger situations. Because how many times have you been in a situation where, I don't know, let's say you've like gone to make a big purchase. Let's say you've gone to like buy a new car, for example, or I don't know, I'm trying to think of something else, like maybe like an expensive pair of shoes, and you're kind of like umming and ahhing about it, and the little voice inside your head saying, not sure if they're going to go with everything, or not sure if you're going to use them as much as possible, not sure if you're going to wear them, not sure if they're a thing, like if they're really you, like do you get them, do you not get them? And the voice, the overriding feeling of the voice is saying not to get them, yeah? And then, but you get them because you're like, no, I can wear them with this, I want to wear them for that, blah, blah, blah. And then in say like 6 months down the line, when you're clearing out your wardrobe and you're sending things to the charity shop, or you're selling bits on Vinted or whatever, you find the pair of boots and you look at them and you're like, shit, I should have listened to that little voice in my head that was telling me not to get them because I haven't even got them out the box yet. Yeah, it could even be in business. You might go into business with someone and there's a little voice that's saying, oh, don't do it. It's probably not like a good decision, or there's like lots of little niggly things that are coming into your head, but you override them because you think you're making a good decision, and then actually it's not karma, but it's almost like the universe, like a few months later, really shows up and you sit there thinking, shit, I should have listened. So yeah, she says that to train yourself into really tuning into that and to listening to it, you should try and practice listening to the voice on smaller occasions with more like menial things, like menial decisions. But she also, I'm not going to go into that like too much more, but there is further to that in that episode. It talks about how you can like tell the difference, or when you can tell the difference between when it's your voice or when it's just your fear. Because obviously we can be in situations where we not self-sabotage, but we stop ourselves from doing something if we don't know what the outcome's going to be, or we're not confident enough, or we're a bit scared, or we don't feel like we have the knowledge. So yeah, she talks about like how you can tell the difference between that inner voice and your fear. So it's definitely worth the watch or listen. And I might even, if I can, put the link to that particular episode in the show notes of this episode. But yeah, so going back to the whole find your passion or find your passions thing, if you're ever in a situation where you find yourself doubting yourself or trying to pigeonhole yourself into only ever doing one thing, when your soul is literally telling you to do lots of different things, like don't ever let anyone, even yourself, even your own thoughts, make you feel like you are only destined to do one thing in life. And I would encourage you to like dabble in all the different things that you are thinking of doing, because you might just find something amazing, and you might find yourself doing more than one thing, and it might be completely different to how you expected your life to be when you were younger, or what you were kind of like taught to believe you should be doing growing up. And if you feel like this episode has spoke to you in the way that I felt that episode with Maria Forleo spoke to me, I would love to hear from you. So drop a comment in the comment section of this video if you're watching it on YouTube, drop me a message on Instagram. And if you feel like you want to share this message to your audience, screenshot or take a picture of whatever is on your screen, share it to your socials, and tag the Millennial Mum socials, which I'm going to drop in the show notes, so you can obviously get that out there. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.